In 2013, Hasbro released a hardcover book called The Covenant of Primus, which acted as a real-world counterpart to a fictional book written by Alpha Trion in the Aligned Continuity. Now, while this book and its concepts are firmly planted in said continuity, its ideas have been used as the foundation for the majority of all following Transformers stories. Case in point, the IDW comics, as well as Transformers 1. While both of these examples do stray in certain areas, the primary concepts reused are that of the 13 primes. If you'd like a full history on the 13 primes, then I suggest you go read the TF Wiki article page linked in the description. They do a wonderful job of covering the history of the idea of where the 13 came from and how it was implemented. The important thing to know is that the Aligned Continuity finally solidified the idea of the original primes and their characteristics, and one of those primes is what I wanted to discuss in this video, and that is the 13th prime. A quick note, this video is filled with spoilers for the IDW comic series, Transformers Prime, Transformers 1, and a lot of other continuities. In the Aligned Continuity, the 13th prime's identity is kept a secret in all historical records. He was the final member of the group to be created by Primus himself to combat Unicron at the dawn of time. It was the 13th that united the primes together with his greeting to them, in which he raised his hand and said, "All are one." The 13th had no special powers like the rest of his siblings, but rather he had the spark to unite and ultimately lead the group to defeating Unicron. After the eventual collapse of the group, due to Liege Maximo's deception and Megatronus's brutality, the 13th decided to enter the Well of All Sparks and create new life on Cybertron. The 13th Prime was then reborn with no prior memories of his life as Optimus Prime. This is an aspect of the Aligned Continuity that is not explored at all in the most well-known pieces of media like Transformers Prime and the Cybertron games. Because of that, I think it's often overlooked or even forgotten when thinking about the overall stories of this series. IDW's comic run took the idea from the Covenant of Primus and adapted it into their own storylines with the creation of the Arisen. In this story, the 13th Prime's identity is never fully confirmed to be Optimus, but it's heavily hinted to be. As the IDW comics began to wrap up, Optimus is twice called the Arisen by both the Mistress of Flame and Onyx Prime himself. Optimus denies this title and reassures the two of them that he is not the 13th reincarnated, but in fact, he's just Orion Pax. This continues all the way until the final issue of the continuity, titled Post, as Optimus declares himself the Arisen before sacrificing himself to defeat Unicron. It's important to clarify that even at this moment, the writers of the comics do not confirm Optimus's status as the 13th, but leave it ambiguous. Optimus declares himself as the Arisen, but gives no explanation to RC, who is there with him at the time. She later explains that it really doesn't matter if he is the Arisen or not, but rather, what matters is the life that he lived and the legacy that he left behind. So while these stories differ in some areas, they both offer us the idea that Optimus was the 13th Prime, or at least he could have been. Now, the idea of Optimus as the 13th is a really fun idea. When I first read through the Covenant of Primus, I liked the idea, and I enjoyed it even more when IDW put their own spin on it, especially because they never confirmed it. But while the idea is fun, I am extremely happy that it was not used for Transformers 1 and other more recent Transformers stories. Now, this is the section of the video where we go from extrapolating information and forming conclusions to just my personal opinions. So everything I say from now on is not founded in any lore or official statements, it's just simply my opinion on the matter. There are many stories in the world that offer us the Chosen One narrative. It is probably one of the most common archetypes to find in all of fiction. Your main character has more to their background than they know, and their past is directly tied to either the villain or some figure of importance. Harry Potter is the chosen one of his franchise, Luke Skywalker the son of Darth Vader, so on and so on. The concept of a chosen one, or in our case, the Arisen, is not a bad thing in itself. However, I would argue that it would have cheapened the character of Optimus and his journey in Transformers 1 and other related stories. To help with this opinion, I want to take a look at Disney's Mulan movies, both the animated one from 1998 and the live-action remake from 2020. I know this strays way off from what my channel covers, but just bear with me for a moment. Now, in very general terms, the animated film tells us the story of a woman who must overcome her circumstances to prove that she is wholly unique and just as capable, if not more capable, than the men of China during the Hun invasion. The core message of this film, in my opinion, is that Mulan must prove to her company and to herself that she is more than just a woman of the household structure of China. In 2020's remake of Mulan, the story has been altered in many different ways, but most importantly, and most disappointingly, Mulan is made to be a chosen one character that has special abilities that make her better than everyone else, just because. I'm not here to discuss if this is more accurate to the original Mulan story, or how this affects women in storytelling. I'm simply using these two films as a comparison to Optimus's status as the Arisen. Optimus being depicted as a chosen one character is not bad at its core, but it cheapens the opportunity of the message that anyone can rise to greatness and overcome their past. In Transformers 1, Optimus is depicted as a nobody, a lowly minor bot who is just another victim of Sentinel Prime's lies and mutilation of Cybertron. You might deny this by saying, well, he was chosen to be worthy of the Matrix of Leadership. But I would argue that he wasn't chosen before time began, but rather he became worthy through his actions. I can't overstate enough that I'm not against the idea of Optimus being the 13th, but I think the impact of him being a regular bot is so much more important than him being one of the original creations of Primus. He may have no memories of his past life, but there will always be the knowledge that he was once something greater. IDW manages to handle this a bit better by never allowing the reader to know for sure, but it does seem like the logical answer is that he is indeed the 13th. At this point, I feel like I'm just rambling about my personal opinion that Optimus overcoming his own circumstances and becoming a great leader is a greater message than that of him being the chosen one. Both ideas have meaning and credence to them, and I'm not saying that one should exist while the other shouldn't, but I do think that the writers of Transformers 1 made the right decision to make Orion Pax a nobody. But what do you think? Did you know of aligned Optimus being the 13th Prime? Do you like the idea? Or do you think his character is served better when he doesn't have this history tied to him? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Let me know if I'm crazy, if I'm just rambling at this point. Thank you guys, of course, for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.